28 years and counting of literally leadership, from Times of India to Britannica Encyclopedia to Disney, and now empowering authors. This is Manish Purohit, the co-founder of Authors Upfront. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Paradigm Shift. And Manish is here. Let's bring him on. Manish, I'm not being able to get you live again on this. I don't know what is happening today. There's some technical problem. We're not being able to get Manish to join. Oh, there he is. Manish, you have to turn your camera on the other side.
Yes, I have done that. Very good morning.
Good morning, Manish. How are we this morning?
Excellent.
Fabulous. So, like I told everybody, that you have done it all, from Disney to Britannica to Times of India to everything. So, do you want to start by telling us your story right from your early days?
Yeah, okay, sure. I still haven't done it all, so there is a long way to go.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But it's interesting 30 years, so I started early in life in terms of work life, started at 22, 23. So that's good. But I've had a very good journey across many cities, also had a chance to look at the world, also worked with many authors. So it's been quite a journey, quite a fascinating journey. I started out in a small city. I mean, at least till that time, it was a small city, Indore. These were the days when even television wasn't there in my early part of growing up, and I really missed that part in the sense
Same
that
here. We belong to the same era.
yes. So yes, good old days. I think cricket and Bollywood still dominated. So one played a lot of cricket in the city, and one watched a lot of movies, single screen theaters. A phenomenal level of interactivity. What we aspire for these days. It was actually back there when you saw a movie, there were live comments and single screen theaters. I really miss them. So that's like a great part of growing up. The good part also was that Indore was culturally a very sound city with a lot of things happening in terms of art, in terms of theater, in terms of even the literature scene. People went to libraries. So all in all, very good. I grew up in a very nice school, so that was fun. The fun 12 years. One doesn't know when they passed, and then 5 years of college
Life
also passed. Yeah, life
and life
happens.
happens.
Yes, and then one moved to Bombay, then to Delhi, then to probably Bombay back, and then back to Gurgaon. So it's been interesting. That's it. Yeah.
Right. Like you just said, you're from Indore. So I mean, even in Bombay, like everywhere at that point in time, you just had to be an engineer or a doctor or probably a lawyer. So how did you come across, thinking of this field, and how did this field begin for you?
So it wasn't, I wanted it by design, but it actually happened by accident. So
Oh,
yes, there were probably back then you had to because there was no other choice. You had to study maths. I did that. You had to appear for engineering entrance. I did that. Thankfully, I didn't end up becoming an engineer because I couldn't get an admission. So that was that. that was a good part of the accident. So I did my graduation, learned maths, did well at that, did my MBA. Life was going on normally. Joined actually a consumer product company after doing my MBA, and I realized that this is not where I want to be. I wanted to be in media, or I wanted to do something in the area of reading books, etc. So, well, after working with a consumer product company for 6 months, I really knew that this is not where I want to be. So thankfully, I was in Bombay. I could manage again by just sheer chance. I got interviewed by the Times of India, and that's when my journey in media and publishing began. And it happened very fast before I knew. I mean, 2 years in Times of India passed, then 2 years in Business Standard passed very fast, and I moved to Delhi from Bombay. Uh, in Delhi, I joined this publishing company. A big transition for me from the world of news and media to a world of books, where frankly I wanted to be in that world because books and comics always fascinated me. So this was my first opportunity to get into the business of books, and without thinking much, I jumped. So again, life happened. I mean, it was really nothing is planned. I think nothing can be planned. So that's the whole
Absolutely.
point.
So this you're talking about popular Prakashan? Is that what you're talking
No,
about?
that happened much later. This was the transition from from the business of media, which is newspaper and magazines,
Right.
happened to the business of books with Encyclopedia Britannica in 1998 in Delhi. Popular Prakashan happened in 2000. I mean, much later. I think after 10, 12 years, after 10 years. So
Okay.
that was Bombay.
So
And
you got Britannica to India. Tell us about that. That must be. I have like a whole set that I kind of read couple of pages to my children. So tell us about that. That must be so interesting.
yeah, that is very, very exciting because, suddenly you are in an organization that, did not operate out of Excel sheets. It thought of doing something and it just ended up doing something. So we basically, I mean, I was the second employee. I had a senior who was my boss, and he was the country director for Britannica in the entire South Asia region. I was supposed to look after marketing, and that's so we were supposed to start a sales office, and there were two of us. Then, I mean, there was another editorial person joined, and uh, of course, Britannica's ambition was to really capture the knowledge that is there in South Asia and update it in the main Encyclopedia Britannica, because
Right.
there was a lot of knowledge in these areas. There was a lot of new knowledge that was also happening in this area, and there wasn't adequate documentation. That company really, I mean, it's a very, very exciting. It was a very exciting organization because they really looked at documenting the world's knowledge as their key task, and everything else happened subsequently. So we started this journey thinking that we'll try and sell Britannicas in India, which of course we did. But we also kind of managed to start a large editorial operation in India, which, so from two people, we ended up in the next 3 to 4 years, we ended up being 250 people, most of them editors,
Wow.
trying to capture, what the civilization of India, various other things. Not only that, the most interesting part of that was also that uh, we started developing local products, which are meant to be only for this region, of course, would be consumed globally, but essentially meant for the local consumer. Now, nowhere in the history of Britannica's 200 years that really happened. I mean, this started happening for the first time. There were translations, let's say in Japanese and other language, or in European languages, but there was no conscious effort of developing a local product that started with us, and that was quite a learning, because Britannica has very, very high editorial standards. So you couldn't just do what you wanted to do. You had to follow a process which was extremely rigorous, which was which you had to tick off everything before you publish something. So that was really a kind of sensitized one to what is good quality, how do you develop good quality, and how do you not lose sight of product development just because you're under some commercial pressure. So I think that really taught us to balance both the things, which is, at the end of the day, good work is what matters. And you just walked away with that learning for the rest of your life.
How lovely. So you were the original Chat GPT. I mean, Britannica Encyclopedia. So, talking about Chat GPT and Encyclopedia, now you have it like at the tip of your finger. You just chat, and all these AIs are chatting back at you. So, what is the relevance of Encyclopedia? I mean, you're not with the company anymore, but do you see a relevance between?
Yeah, I think you have to dig deeper into the fact that the internet has also come with its own trouble, whether it's ChatGPT or whether it's Google. The fact is that information publishing is now in public domain.
Right.
So anyone can be the publisher. Now uh, that's where credibility and fact checking gets very, very important. And probably the relevance of any good platform that created a lot of information, good quality, is probably more. I mean, what we will see in the next 3 to 5 years is that we'll learn about the revenue models for those companies, because when such an explosion in information space happens, the customer takes a little time to settle down. So when the
Right.
consumer settles down, and when the consumer realizes that probably not getting the fastest information is probably not the most important aspect, but to get it very fast and to get it very from a credible source becomes very important. So I think source credibility is the single largest factor that may drive the revenues for such companies or importance of such companies. And because there is a market for such an audience that is looking at credible information and probably scholarly information. Let me also give information not about just the credibility, but also the quality of it, and that would play a very important role. So I don't think the relevance of a good quality content would die down. I mean, it would, if at all, it would increase. And it's an opportunity, because the internet is a medium that's all encompassing, that's everywhere. So probably you couldn't reach certain consumers easily. Now you have that option. So yes, there are new models that would emerge in terms of both creation and in terms of revenue. And I think that would be exciting times for all of us.
Absolutely. Okay, so from Encyclopedia, Britannica Encyclopedia, you moved to Disney, I think.
Yes, yes, yes.
So
I
tell
had a
us
short stint in Disney.
Disney. I mean,
Yeah.
that must be like, that is like everybody's fairy tale, all kinds of dreams. And, as kids, I mean, forget when our childhood, we didn't have Disney, a little bit of Disney. But like I remember growing up with my children on the Disney Channel, with all the shows, and I would not watch Saas Bahu and everything. So you were on the publishing side of Disney, right?
Yes, also, but Disney is not about books or comics or mobile phones or television. They're just formats for Disney. Disney is actually content creator. Disney is story maker. Disney is a dreamer, and they continue to do so. So you are part of that ecosystem. And while the output is in form of a magazine or a comics, that's what I did. But you're involved in various aspects, because essentially every story there uh, begins with a character. Whether it's Mickey Mouse, whether it's Winnie the Pooh, and then it goes on to their environment, and then it goes on to various other sub stories from that. So that's a very fascinating world, and I really enjoyed it, because uh, it's like going back to childhood. Because what do you do for a living? Oh, I read comics. Now that's a world, and that's a job everyone wants, and thankfully I had that job for a brief period of time. So yeah, it was fairly exciting. I kind of it was a short stint, but I really enjoyed it. I also was one of the persons responsible for getting Disney comics out in Marathi, Malayalam, and Hindi. So
Wow.
that's where, yeah, the power of language, I think uh, that's something I understood, and that's something I found it fascinating, and I continue to find it very, very exciting. Probably that's the next big growth in India, in Indian publishing or Indian content creation, because there are so many of us, and there are so many of us that speak so many of different languages. So that's the good part.
And we still continue to converse in English. That is like so still with the colonial hangover that we all have.
Yes, yes.
So
I,
I
I
please go.
think it's not only colonial hangover. I think, whether the fact that there were only two unifying factors for diverse India. Now, this is a statement many people don't like, but
Right.
it's at a practical level true. So there were only two unifying factors for us post 1947. One was cricket, and second was English. So I think it's a great integrator in that sense. But yeah, I mean, look, that's the language of the workplace. But and that's the reason we talk in English. But we could always switch the language. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, we can go. nahi wo hi hai that I was like we have all these international schools mushrooming, and all our children are coming out of there with a whole lot of accents, Indian, American, British, like a cocktail of some accent that they come out with. And just yesterday I was telling my friends, when my children went to study in the UK, again colonial, I sent my children back over there, and they realized when they were at Coventry, they realized that they wanted to speak in Hindi because the Chinese would speak in Hindi and the Koreans would speak their language, and everybody would speak their language, and only we were speaking in English. So that's the time when they and their friends came together and they would converse in Hindi. And it would also work as a great code language because at least they could converse and keep their secrets within them.
Right.
So, so talking about this, did you find, like you said, you came from a small town, and it always happens that when people come in from anything other than Bombay or Delhi, you seem to kind of get in that space where people kind of say, oh, and especially in your workspace, I'm sure there were people who were like very literary snobs, if I may call them. So did you find any of that?
No, they were. I mean, I did have a Hindi accent when I spoke English. I think I
Okay.
continued to, and I'm proud of that. But the one way to counter it was that probably I was a bigger snob. So in that sense, so in that sense, especially in Bombay, my work life started in Bombay. So that's where I found I could speak very good English, so that was fine. That worked. But probably to me, speaking great Hindi was a bigger advantage at workplace because nobody else spoke, and that really gave me a very distinct competitive advantage I mean, at least in Bombay, because that really stood me out, at workplaces because
Yeah.
yeah, there were very few people in that 3,000 you know
Odd.
people building who could speak so good Hindi. So that was, I mean, to me, that was an advantage. And thankfully, and that was not Delhi, that was Bombay. So if in Delhi, it's fine because Delhi is truly a bilingual city.
Right.
Bombay is, yes, of course, there are a lot of people who spoke Marathi and who speak Marathi. So that's fine.
Hmm.
For me, it was very good because I grew up in Indore, which has a very large population of Marathi speaking population, and that speaks Marathi, sorry. And I knew Marathi very well. I mean, in the sense that I couldn't speak, but I
Wow.
understood. Yeah, I understood Marathi almost like a native Maharashtrian. So yeah, that was so. Language always is very important in India. Like you say, your children are learning. I mean, they learn the importance of Hindi. My daughter has joined a college in Bangalore, and she had an option to study a foreign language as well as a local language, and she's chosen Kannada, and I think that's really good because it gives you a new language which is not part of a large international culture is always a great thing to learn. So that's the power of Indian languages, and that power, unfortunately, we haven't extracted it in the literary world or even in the creative world fully. But that's where the next big opportunity is.
Yes. Okay, so do you want to tell us your next stint after Disney? That's when you went to the oldest independent publishing houses?
Yes, yes,
Popular.
yes, yes, yes. Oh, yes, yes. It was it taught me a lot of. I think if I don't want to be unfair to my other employers and my future employers, but Popular was my best stint because it's a family-owned organization, and the beauty of it is that right from day one, for the next 7 years that I worked there, I never felt I was not a fan. So
Wow.
while a lot of large organizations say this, I think that's the power of good Indian organizations, that we actually don't talk about it, but we believe that we are a family and we work like a family. Aside from that, Popular creates the best Marathi literature, a lot of diverse product portfolio in form of food. So food is always very exciting things to publish. They are the largest food publisher also. So I really had a ball doing that for 7 years. So great literature, great food, uh, non-interference, small organization, yet really good people to work with, a lot of good colleagues, a lot of great work, and so rooted in India.
Right.
But a very different outlook. So that was fun. Yeah, 7 years really kind of my largest stint so far. But yes, it was fairly good. Did a lot of things, lot of interesting work there. Many awards because good literature gets you awards. So a lot of awards. Ate a lot because we publish virtually every big chef in India. So that was fun. That was really fun. But at the same time, I wanted to do something else, and that's where my journey as a entrepreneur began, which is a very difficult transition, as I must say, to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Tell us about that. From so much corporate life to an entrepreneur, how was it and how was it fun? And how was it beginning on your own, empowering authors? That is so cool.
Yeah. So again, it was. I did realize that publishing was changing, and so was the world because of internet. The internet gave a lot of power to people to express, and that's what I see. In fact, the downside of it is that when I see the WhatsApp status and when I see Instagram, and I realize, man, are we such an impoverished generation or a society that we are so desperate to over communicate, and that's what happens on all social media platforms, that it looks like they've never been given an opportunity to, and everyone is coming back with a vengeance. But no, on a serious note, what was happening in the world is that there were a lot of authors who were not finding voices because there are only as many publishing houses in India, and there is only as many books that they could do, and everyone wants to write a book, and there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I encourage everyone to write a book. So there is this entire thing which was pretty looked down in publishing as shame, of vanity publishing, that you're publishing for yourself and things like that. But I actually thought that's an opportunity, because if everyone wants a voice, then all you need to do is provide them a quality platform where they can, use services to make their voice better. And so that was the simplest promise, that okay, we'll start a setup which is going to help authors publish their work by providing them editorial services, by providing them services which are design, etc., etc. And since in any case it's such a democratic world, let them find their audience. We will also help, Amazon was growing exponentially, so we would also help them publish in various forms. So right from day one, we were very clear that we'll do a print book, but we'll also do every book that we publish has to be an ebook also. And I've seen that market grow. So yeah, now, close to 9 years, we have done over 500 to 600 books, some of them bestsellers in multiple languages. Our books are globally available on Amazon and other online platforms. They're also available as an ebook. But more than, 700 books that we've done. I think the power of this organization has been so many unique relationships that we've built. I mean, I haven't built as many friends in my life as I've built in the last 8, 9 years.
Oh,
Authors who,
nice.
authors who become friends, authors who, treat you as family with so much of love. In fact, I have been appointed as executor of a will by one of my authors. I mean, so you, you can't you can't really. I mean, so that's really good part. That's part of this business that you really can't think of in any other business, to develop such good, nice personal equations. And of course, then the other good part of it is that with so many authors
Right.
and so many things that you're doing, there's so many good stories around, and
Yeah.
you keep so it keeps you in a world which is fine, which is different, which is actually not so boring. So
Right. So do you have any like anecdotes, like you said, you have so many friends, and also do you have any different kind of authors, funny, difficult, hard, different
yeah,
stories? Do you have any
so
anecdotes to tell?
I think that needs another session, but but yeah, there are a lot of interesting people we meet, and what the good part of it is, and which is the most exciting part, is that we get a lot of youngsters, typically in the age group of 15 to 21-year-olds, who want to become an author, and that's great for reading, writing, because that really gives you a hope for future, that all this talk about Instagram or Facebook or social media having killed writing is actually not true. It's of course the form is changing, and which is just fair, because you can't expect your children to be like you, but the form is changing. But no, I mean, it's actually, writing is increasing. It's growing by leaps and bounds. And not only the genres are growing by leaps and bounds. So that's fine. I mean, I have very interesting anecdotes, but a couple of them that really stand out is that there was this 21-year-old boy from Hyderabad who was insistent that I meet him and evaluate his work. Now, even though we are a self-publishing platform, we do not take on every book that comes to us. So we do say that, okay, some books have potential. Some is something that we can't do because either they could be badly written, or they don't follow the, path that, or they don't follow, or they are either too political, or, something religion I don't understand. So I'm a little extra careful on those matter. So there is one boy who's written a love story at the age of 21, which is a love story as well as a story of his breakup, uh, which was, so he felt that the story was very exciting. And he had a very rich dad. So there was a lot of budget on offer as well. And uh, he he was insistent that I meet and read the book. So I said, okay, very enthusiastic kid. I really love him till date. We didn't publish the book, and I don't know whether the book ever got published. But he told me that, sir, एक बार आप मुझसे मिल लो. आप ना आप अमिताभ घोष तो छोड़ दो, किरण नगरकर तो छोड़ दो, आप हेमिंगवे को भी भूल जाओगे मेरी राइटिंग पढ़ोगे. So I thought, that's the power of youth, that you could,
यही
do such a
कॉन्फिडेंस
tall thing.
चाहिए.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So confidence. So that's really stood out, because, and I did meet him because he said that Hemingway ko bhi bhul jaoge. So I really thought that this must be something, very exciting. So,
Right.
so that. that's one. So that's really one anecdote. There are multiple interesting ones. There was so in the earlier one of our first book got sued by a large company, large individual actually, fairly big uh, industrialist in India, and the company also sent us a legal notice, and uh, of course, things got sorted. I mean, the matter didn't reach the court, but it was clearly a fairly important work. And when I met the lawyer from the other side at a very social gathering, it wasn't even a formal meeting. The lawyer kind of knew who I was, and he kind of started chatting up with me, very friendly and all. And he said, do you think you should be doing this at this stage of your new company, because it's too risky and things like that? I said, you know what, it's actually not. Why don't you tell your story and I'll publish that as well? So so that is like another anecdote. But yeah, I mean, so yes, we do. We do. Yesterday I was another very thing, because that happened yesterday. I was talking to a, a person who is a movie producer in Europe, and he's fairly done. So he's done his own book. So he told me that, look, I don't know how to reach out to audience in India, and I don't know what will come of this book, but it's a good book. It has sold very well in my part of the world. So what do we do in India? And I said, look, this is all. So I told him five other things we can do, and he said, well, what are the chances of succeeding? I said, look, that's something I cannot tell you, because I cannot predict whether we'll sell one copy or 1 million copy. I really don't know. But
Right.
I said, look, the only upside for me is that probably you'll cast me in your next film in some small role. you know. So that's so these are, so it's good. I mean, the good part of this business is that you're talking to people and you end up becoming friends, and that's the good part. So, and yes, in
Right.
between a lot of stories happen.
How cool. No, so I'm going to, after this live, I'm going to be getting on a call with you, and I'm going to show you some of the storybook ideas that I have, and you have to tell me. And I'm going to, Tina is here, she's late. Tina, you're late. So I'm going to get her, Bashila, like you said. Okay, so for me and for everybody that is watching and will watch after this, tell us what is the procedure of authors upfront, like what happens, like how does, like you said, self publishing, and how different it is from the regular publishing houses. So tell us the process.
So what happens is that a publishing house, even if they want to, they cannot publish as many books as they would like to, because of commercial pressures, because of the fact that they can only hire that many people, because of the fact that humanly it's not possible to publish or even answer so many uh, desirable authors who come to them. Okay. Uh, so Amazon actually gave the power to the authors to become publishers. And they said that, okay, let's do something where you can, obviously then came companies like us who would facilitate the entire process. So it's a very simple thing. You have a manuscript, you send it to us, we review the manuscript, and then we tell you what can we do with it. Okay, if at all we want to do something with it. So, but we are not like a publisher who would say that, okay, you know, we do have certain standards we follow, but because the commercial pressure is not on us, we do say, okay, we probably would be happy to publish more books than a traditional publisher would be. Okay, so we then go back to the author saying that this is what we can do. This is how it would cost. It would cost. So, in terms of a revenue model, the author becomes the publisher because he is investing in the book. We are just facilitating the process. And the good part is that the author then also gets a higher percentage of revenue, because naturally he's the risk taker there. Okay, so that is the model. Uh, so, I mean, if you look at our website, there are a lot of established authors we have, because
Yeah.
this model worked for them. It works for them in terms of keeping control. It works for them in truly representing their own voice in the way they want. So for example, there are some authors who have been published by large publishing houses earlier, but they don't like the process of being curtailed or being told to do it in a certain way. Naturally, there is nothing. Every publishing house would have their own challenges, and hence they want things to be done a certain way. So it's not that they don't want to, but there is always that uh, you know tension between an author and a publisher, in terms of the publisher in the publishing houses taking a little more power in their hands, while in our process the power is in the hands of the author, so they can tell their stories the way they want, and probably earn a higher revenue. So it's becoming a fairly established, respected form of publishing now, and
Fabulous.
that that's what we do.
So, I just wanted to know, uh, sorry, it, pardon my ignorance, have you written a book? I don't know whether you're an author.
Well, I am planning to co-author a book with a person who has just walked into your house. So that's been on for a long, long time.
Okay.
But yeah. But I've been busy making other authors. I want to write the book for the longest time, but I don't know whether that's going to happen sometime soon. But I do, to tell you, maybe there is the other part. I have done translations that have got published.
Okay.
So, I have translated from Hindi to English with my credits. So I do have those credits. But a full book, no, not yet. I mean, maybe I would write someday, but as of now, there is no plan.
Okay. Absolutely, that'll be really nice. Okay, so just before we get into the last few questions, I want to request everybody that is joining from Manish Purohit's side and who will be watching this video once it's uploaded, I request you to like and follow to the Paradigm Shift. We have some very interesting conversations of people that make a change for themselves for the betterment of the society, and we're here, the paradigmshift.co, and once this video is recorded and uploaded, it will be put up on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and also Facebook. So, people, you can let people know. I will be sending you the links. Okay, so Anoop has already followed us. Thank you so much. Okay, now I wanted to know, like, what is the advice that you give to anybody that is a young budding author, that somebody like who I would want, or like if I want to publish or I want to write, what is the advice that you will give them in this quick world of the 30-second reel and the 60-second reel, where the attention span is so small? How does one get um, the reader
I
gripped in book?
I think one is not really married to a format. So if they're creators, the only thing that I tell young people is that even if you're creating, uh, you know, a Twitter post or anything, even a reel or a short story or a larger story or a long form article, archive it. Just keep it safe, because you never know when are you going to use it again. And that's something that's more important for younger people, because you go back and you read it, that improves your writing over a period of time. So it's a tool not only to republish at certain point in time, but it's a tool also to improve your work. That's one thing. Also, I don't think books are going anywhere. I mean, they are here to stay. When the size of the book may matter, may change, long writing, different forms, the way they express, the use of language, where I mean, you would see lot many more books which would have uh, Hindi language usage or any other language usage that coming in.
Hmm.
Uh, but I don't think books are going anywhere. So the thing is that anyone who wishes to write or aspires to be an author, I think there is a certain discipline in organizing their thoughts, okay, so that they don't go away, because that's the risk of such a thing in this fast-paced world, or in days of instant gratification. that you have to post something and it should be liked in the next 10 seconds. That's not going to. So they have to adapt to that, books are all about delayed feedback, but it's permanent feedback. There is no permanency to it. There is more steadiness to it. So that's something they have to keep in mind, and just keep writing. I think that's the only good part, because the good part of social media is that it sharpens your skills and it makes you regular. So that's the frequency is the good part. Well, the rigor would come automatically when you want it, when you really are looking at writing that book. So the rigor would come automatically.
Right. Okay, so when you look back at your journey, Manish, what is the most rewarding aspect of your journey? And like you said, that I'm not done yet. So where, yeah, rightly said, Tina, organizing your thoughts, very important. I'm going to do that homework from today. So what do you have? What are your goals that you want to achieve, if you want to share with us?
Yeah. So I think of course, I'm not done yet. So that's one part. But what one is looking at is that there are so many new things happening. So many exciting things happening, and that's something I would like to explore. So would again, true to the fact that it's not books, it's just content. So probably, are we looking at this content being exploited in form of a TV series or in form of a movie or in any other form? So that's the next exciting part of the journey that we have. Uh, the other part is that as an organization, and which is that we are looking at reaching out to a very large, and we are now prepared that we are looking at a very large number of authors from outside of India, and
Okay.
that's an opportunity that is certainly going to. Now it's a COVID stable world. It's a very different world, very new world, very connected world, very small world. So those are the
Right.
stories that more and more of those stories we'll see. I'm personally very excited about what would happen, or what is going to be very visible, because our one Hindi translation wins a Booker. It's huger than, I mean, to me, it's bigger than anything else that has happened in the literary
Fabulous.
scene in India. So I think that opens up a large market for people who want to express in Indian languages, and
Yeah.
and I think that's the interesting part. That's the next part to look forward to. And as I said, a lot of this journey happened. It was never by design. So I would just wait for the next interesting accident to happen. I'm sure that would be exciting also.
Absolutely. So, on that note, thank you, Manish. It was such a pleasure to talk to you. This is a very different kind of paradigm shift that we got here. We have guests all the time from very different walks of life, and this was a very interesting conversation. And now I have a friend and who will probably publish my book. But first, I will speak to you if what I'm thinking is in the right direction. And I don't know if my children will let me put you in my will. So I'm sorry that's not happening right now. And yeah, so any parting advice that you would like to have for our viewers?
Well, I mean, keep expressing, keep writing, and we'll find each other soon. So that's that's
How
that's
lovely.
what.
How
Okay.
lovely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Manish. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody that joined us. Thank you. See you. Bye.
Bye.